It's about that time of day again. My name is Joseph. Wednesday evening, October 18th. Welcome back to your nightly newsletter. We're covering crude oil, S&P, Nasdaq, gold, and euro this evening. Crude is bullish and trying to push back to Monday's high, but a trading range is telling me to avoid buying the high and wait for a successful breakout pullback tomorrow morning. The S&P is also bullish, but trading smack in the middle of its own range, which tells me to focus on failures down in the battle zone for the most reliable buying opportunities tomorrow morning. The Nasdaq is bullish and trading again smack in the middle of a large triangle pattern this evening, which tells me to focus on failures for buying opportunities down below the low of the range on Thursday. And of course, speaking of Thursday, gold is bearish heading tomorrow's session, but today's closing price is a really big clue on the yellow metal, telling me to avoid chasing this move lower and focus on selling as high as possible tomorrow. And of course, the euro is bullish with a very strong move higher to finish today's session, telling me to look for a two-legged pullback and buying as low as possible down in the battle zone tomorrow. Most of our markets are balanced and trading sideways as we go into Thursday's session. Anytime we have a balanced market, we're going to focus on failures using that two-try rule, staying out of the middle tomorrow. So the big key for tonight is going to be looking at those failure patterns and focusing on those failures for Thursday's session. I got a great newsletter in store for you guys and gals tonight. Plenty of reliable opportunities setting up as we go into the latter half of this third week of the month of October. Before we jump in and put the plan together for tomorrow, though, I do want to remind you the only place to watch the full-length version of this video is here on our blog at sidewaysmarkets.com. If you're watching the video right now on our YouTube channel, it's only a small snippet on YouTube. If you want the whole version, right, the whole full-length version of this nightly newsletter, just go into the YouTube video description, follow that link over here to the blog at Sideways Markets, and catch the full-length version. While you're here, don't forget, join the mailing list. I'll send you an email every evening when our newsletter goes live. Follow me on social, lower left-hand corner. Follow me on StockTwits, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever your favorite flavor of choice. I'm always posting important charts, links, and updates throughout the week. And speaking of charts, don't forget one of the most popular parts about our nightly newsletter, and you guys always send me such great feedback on this, is the fact that you can download all the charts from tonight's video and have them on your computer for tomorrow's session, whether you're with me or not with me in the trade room tomorrow morning. Right where it says click here to download today's charts, grab those charts and be ready for tomorrow's session. And speaking of tomorrow's session, come out and join me on the free pass. If you're not a member here at School of Trade and you'd like to see what all the talk is about here at School of Trade, grab that free pass. Come join me as a guest in the trade room. You're going to learn more with me on that free pass than you will anywhere else on the interwebs. I can pretty much guarantee that. And if you have any questions on the way, you can always hit me up on live support. We got a right-hand side on the blog and right-hand side of our website. We always have live support for you guys to ask any questions you may have along the way. So, all right, let's get ready for tomorrow's session. Tomorrow's Thursday, October the 19th. Before we jump into news for tomorrow, though, we do a bunch of news coming out in the overnight session from China. If you're trading the overnight Asian session, be aware of that. Anytime we talk about news from China, we do expect that to be a market-moving event in the overnight session. So keep your eyes open on that if you're trading the overnight session. If you're going to be with us tomorrow morning, tomorrow we open up our trade room at 8 o'clock Eastern time with all of our advanced members. We got some news ahead of the opening bell tomorrow morning. Retail sales at 4:30 a.m. from our good friends in Great Britain. And then, of course, we go into your typical Thursday morning jobless claims and the Philly Fed Thursday mornings at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. That's pretty much the major news for tomorrow. Again, we got the major news tonight from China. Heads up on that if you trade in the overnight Asian session. Also tomorrow, retail sales at 4:30 a.m. if you're an early bird in London tomorrow. And, of course, don't forget jobless claims and Philly Fed tomorrow. Pretty much your standard Thursday session tomorrow morning. We open up our trade room at 8 o'clock Eastern time, and we're going to execute the plan together. Hopefully you guys will come out and join me tomorrow morning as brand new advanced members. So let's keep going. Jumping into some charts here tonight. I want to make sure we get through this here quickly so you guys get out of here and finish up your evening. Crude oil, we'll go crude, S&P, Nasdaq, gold, and we'll wrap up tonight on the euro. Crude is bullish and trying to rotate back up to the high of the range, where we assume sellers will try and sell back down to that low. The overall trend is clearly bullish, so if price can show me some strength going through the highs, I can look for a fake out, breakout, pullback pattern tomorrow. The ideal scenario, though, for the buyers would be seller failure down below the low of that range, using the support trend line just below that battle zone. Now, guys, you can see not much has changed from last night's newsletter. We found those buying opportunities coming off of the top of that triangle earlier on in the session. And of course, we had our battle zone right down here, so late in the morning as well. So whether you got it early or whether you came in late, right, last night's newsletter gave you guys some actionable opportunities to make some profit today. Now for tomorrow, it looks like the most important thing continues to be this trading range. We definitely have rotation back and forth, right? We're definitely still looking at that pendulum swing, right, to be a nice juicy target up around that prior month high. But it definitely looks like we're still kind of stuck inside of this range here right now. So with that said, most important thing is rotation whenever we talk about a trading range. We're coming off the low, up to the high, back to the low. We should be going next up to that high. So we have to plan accordingly for that. I don't want to buy into the high. There really are two options, right, when it comes to the high of a trading range. Option one would be a two-try rule and then sell back down. Obviously, that's going to go against the short-term trend. That would be lower probability. We also have a rising support trend line here, which you'll have to battle through, right, to do that. So it's not going to be the easiest go for the sellers up above that high. However, it's also not going to be very easy to be a buyer up there either. You'll notice what happened this morning, right, after a very strong, right, break higher, it really struggled to push to the high of that range. So we're going to really have to see a good punch higher, high enough or strong enough to get that moving average up above the top of that range. And then I call this the fake out breakout pullback pattern, the FOBO-PB, right? How's that an acronym for you tonight? Or just fake out breakout pullback. It's pretty simple. Get the moving average up above the range at 47 and then look for not one, right, but two legs lower and look for a trap below that low. That will be the buying opportunity. The key to that buy is going to be strength, and I mean real strong move going higher. It'll be very, very obvious, very much strength going with the highs. You'll see buyers break out and they won't even look back. That will tell you you have the green light, right, to buy basically on that second try, right? You're trying to buy on that second try. The specifics of it though are that two-legged pullback getting in. Again, we had that rising support trend line here with the top of that range there, right? We'll try to use all of that together with the moving average above the top of that range for that buying opportunity. The target at that point obviously is the measured move, the pendulum swing, and the prior month high. If you missed last night's newsletter, be a good idea to go back and watch that video from last night because we talked about, right, kind of how that pendulum swing works and why we have our eyes on that 53 even area here eventually here this week. So we know if price goes up, one try, two try, back down in, be a little bit difficult there, be a failure pattern up at the high. What I would really love to see is I'd love to get us now back down to that low. That would be an under rotation into an over rotation. That would put us right into that battle zone. And you're going to see a lot of these charts tonight. We've got a bunch of these ranges, whether it be triangles or double tops and double bottoms. And anytime we have a trading range, I focus my energy on staying away from the middle, right? We call this the no trade zone, kind of right in the middle. And I really try to focus on failures down below the low of that range. It's a bull bias going into the range. I want to be a buyer below the low of that range. Now, what type of failures am I talking about? Well, as we go lower, I want to look for sellers, right, counter trend sellers to fail, right? So seller failures down below that low. So what would that look like? Well, in my point of view, it'd be a strong move out, pull back to the moving average, right? And then, of course, that strong move down, they wouldn't be able to hold that pullback. And then I would know where the stops are, and I could buy right into those stops, right? So kind of think about it. I always talk about using visualization exercises while my clients here at School of Trade. This is one of the things I would highly recommend is, think about what if I didn't know there was a range here and we break down into the battle zone, we get this rising support trend line here. This is all a great area, right, to kind of catch those counter trend sellers on the wrong side of the market. So that's the area where I want to be buying. What I want to do then is see a nice strong breakout. Don't get spooked by a strong breakout. Most breakouts fail. That's one try, two try, right? And then once we start seeing that second try, 1 and 2 fail, then we start looking for that buying opportunity going back down in. One thing I always remind all my clients, and I'll remind you too, right, as well, is usually this first try, usually it takes a little bit longer for that second try to happen. So really be patient. It's usually a quite obvious second try. It'll show some strength. And once that second try fails, I'm not trying to pick the bottom, right? I'm not trying to predict these failures. I'm waiting for proof, because once we start seeing it make the turn, then we'll be able, right, to really run this sucker back higher. So avoid buying the high, right? Fake out, breakout, pullback. Because remember, bear's going to be up here trying to fade that move back in. I want to counteract that with that two-legged pullback. You're more than welcome to try to go against the trend here and fade that high. Just watch out for that rising trend line. Again, targets are going to be measured move, pendulum swing. If I had to guess, I would say we'll probably slide all the way up to that 53 even area tomorrow if we can get a successful breakout above the top of that range. What would it take for this market to turn bearish tomorrow? Yeah, a small miracle right now. We'd have to get through the prior week high. We'd have to get through this rising support. I'm not going to say it can't turn bearish, because you'll never hear never out of my mouth, right? Kind of play on words there. But, we don't like to say the word can't, right? Because anything's possible for all of these markets, right? So strong move down. I'd want to see the market hold below that trend line. Then, of course, you can kind of use that as resistance, use that as resistance. As soon as we see a strong move that can hold a pullback, what I call strength, pullback, strength, the 3 rules for a reversal. If you watch my nightly newsletter quite a bit, I talk about these reversals all the time, right? So bottom line is once we see that strength, pullback, strength going lower, then we know, right, those sellers are hunting for that 51.23, and I'll gladly be a seller. But keep in mind, if those bears fail, this becomes a beautiful buying opportunity now for those bulls tomorrow. Very interesting chart. Stay away from the middle. Buy low, sell high. In this case, bull bias, so buy low. And watch out for that fake out breakout pattern, right? Avoid buying those breakouts on oil. Let's keep going here. From one range-bound market to another range-bound market. Let's talk about the S&P, and we're going to see a few of these here in the next few charts as well. S&P is bullish, but we're clearly trading right in the middle of this triangle pattern, which tells me to stay patient for price to break lower, then look for buying opportunities using failure patterns below the range, hopefully down in that battle zone tomorrow. I think the most important thing right now is we weren't able to make any new higher highs. We weren't able to make any new lower lows. The moving average, it isn't flat, but you can see it's kind of flat, right? It's flattish, right, in the middle of that range, right? So I'm going to have to call this a range-bound environment. I think it's also worth mentioning, if you zoom out a little bit further here, there appears to be a little bit of a multi-tier channel going on right now. That high lined up with that low. If you add a midline in here, it seems to be holding up there nicely as well. The moral of the story is this is rising support, and I'm going to try to use that tomorrow in combination with that prior week high. So that becomes my battle zone tomorrow. What is the battle zone, by the way? The battle zone is nothing more than, in a bull market, it's an area of support where I can buy with a small amount of risk and a big amount of reward. That's really what the battle zone is, right? It's no fancy tool, right? And it's amazing though, because the most effective things in life, this is not just day trading, right? The most effective things in everything in life is usually the most simple, right? It's the simplest. It's a very simple tool. It's an area on my chart where I know I can take a small amount of risk, right, for a big amount of reward. I know if we pull back, and again, we have that trading range here. So anytime I have a trading range, what do? Stay away from the middle, right? Stay away from the middle. Don't fiddle with the middle. Buy low, sell high, and what? Focus on failures using the 2-try rule, right? So where would the failure be? Well, again, it's a bull move in. So I want to be a buyer instead of being a seller, right? I want to look for that failure. Where would a failure be? Failure would be, and I always like to look left and find some prior swings. If possible, I love to be able to incorporate a trap low on this. If you haven't taken my free trial yet, make sure you take my free trial, because inside of my free trial, you can learn more about all the terminology I'm using right now. The bottom line, though, is focus on failures, 2-try rule, right? And try to get it just below some of these prior swings. That way, it also incorporates a trap as well, right? So price goes down, 1 try, 2 try. I know where the seller's stop losses are, and I can now look for buying opportunities once we see those stops, right, getting run. So 2-try rule down to the downside. Again, try to use this trend line, 1 try, 2 try, back up. And there's a lot of different ways in which, right, we can do this. For example, there may be a trend line coming down here, and we may be able to use this for a 2-legged pullback. Trap low, then into a failure, then into a pullback, right, and then up from there, right? You can see there's 3 opportunities there. A 2-legged pullback for a trap low. Then, of course, we have the 2-try rule, 1 try, 2 try, right? Then for a failure, right, seller failure. And then, of course, jump up, right, by the pullback. I like to use that prior swing. I call that a reversal line, right, and that'll give you that jump, right, for that pullback going back up into that range. Speaking of tomorrow, hope you guys learned a ton tonight. Hope you guys can use it to earn a ton tomorrow. Don't be a stranger. If you want to learn more about everything we talked about here tonight on the newsletter, terminology, patterns, psychology, whatever the case may be, you've got to check out our free trial. It's right on the homepage of the website here at schooloftrade.com. If you're watching the video on YouTube right now, there's a link in the description of that YouTube video. Follow those links over here to the blog, over here to the website homepage, and join that free trial. Also, don't forget our beginner, intermediate, and advanced classes, I think, are the very best in trading education. I think it's the best you're going to find online. I put my heart and soul into everything I do here at School of Trade, and you guys are going to love those 3 levels of membership. Any questions? I'm always here to help. Well, I'm here to help as long as the Dodgers aren't at bat. But the bottom line is, if you have any questions, hit me up on live support. I'm just joking with you. I'll be there with you guys, right, to answer those questions for you. Who's going to win tonight? Who do we got? Boy, oh boy, I can't believe the ALCS is tied 2-2 right now. Oh my goodness. Now, I grew up a Red Sox fan, so I am just scared stiff of the Yankees at any moment, right? So I got to admit, as much as I think the Astros are a better team, I'm going to be rooting for the Astros tonight, I got to say. Not because I'm absolutely scared to death of those pinstripes. And, of course, our home team, Dodgers, here in Los Angeles. I am a convert, right, here to the West Coast, right? My family would kill me if I didn't root for the Dodgers here. So go, Dodgers, go. Hopefully they make another win tonight, and hopefully we'll find ourselves back in the World Series in like 30, 35 years. Wouldn't that be incredible? No matter what, no matter who you're rooting for, have a great time tonight. Hope you guys found some great value on the newsletter. My name is Joseph. I'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time in our trade room. If not, we'll do it again tomorrow evening for a Thursday edition of our newsletter. Be well, be nice to each other out there, and be here next time. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.